I went back on the road this week. I was having real meetings with real people in real offices in New York. Are we returning to normal business? Hopefully. The recurring topic of the week was this: will hybrid work change how we collaborate and the technologies we use going forward? Let's see. As you could see from the intro, I'm in New York. More importantly, I was out of my home office and studio and back in the real world. This was the first week I started having in-person conversations with clients as well as advisors on all the changes that they noticed as they went back to the offices. New York is an interesting case because people are still debating two questions, at least, when it comes to digital transformation. Question number one is, what happens to remote work? What do you do if part of your workforce is in the office while others stay remote? How does that impact work relationships and career paths? Do people go back to the office completely, or remote is here to stay? There is an interesting cross-section of answers. Some companies declared remote or hybrid work forever, even in heavily customer-facing sectors like professional services. Others ordered employees back to the office, like many in the financial sector. The mandate varies by role. Customer-facing functions are more likely to go back to traveling, while back office is being considered for hybrid work or remote work. I noticed the different plans for this question, and nobody yet has the right answer. One related question that comes up often is this: what happens with technology? How is technology going to have to shift from the remote enablement, collaboration tools to more of a hybrid environment, where people are going to be in cubicles, meeting rooms, as well as remote? Is the collaboration environment ready for that? Also, there are questions that have nothing to do with technology. How do you manage your team that is hybrid? How do you make sure you spend equal time with people that are in the office versus people that are away? The second question is even more interesting for this channel. What happens to all the great digital momentum from 2020? What became a cliche in the last 18 months, we've seen a massive acceleration of digital projects. The drivers were remote access, cybersecurity, and even disruption on how the work got done. People invented new ways of getting their work done, often creating entirely new and more efficient workflows. How is that going to change? Are we keeping the new processes employees invented out of necessity? Should we revert back to the old ways of doing things? Will either work well in a hybrid work environment? Are the changes in business even done yet? Arguably, there are some sectors still in a state of supply chain disruption, like technology, automotive, retail, or travel. Should we wait until the new normal settles in, or should we give more freedom to employees to keep innovating? Often the discussion led to the interplay between technology innovation and adoption by employees or businesses. There was an interesting article in the May edition of Harvard Business Review which dealt with this at the global level. They looked into why China was advancing so rapidly with digital transformation compared to the US or Western Europe. The authors concluded that it had to do not with the pace of digital innovation, but with the speed and scale of adoption of these new technologies. The primary reason China is advancing so much is because the consumers or employees at work are adopting technology much faster than in other countries. And then as new technologies come out, they're adopting them even more. Some sectors like consumer, retail, and fintech saw innovation and adoption cycles in weeks, not years. So what does it have to do with businesses here in the US? Well, the digital adoption insight could be perfect for businesses to consider. If your workforce has been great at adopting digital technology during the pandemic, how can you maintain that momentum? How do you foster even more adoption? There is an interesting virtuous cycle that happens with innovation, adoption, and business impact. Companies, just like entire nations, go through cycles of innovation. First, they come up with new ideas and technologies that they experiment with. Then they move on to adoption, using those innovations at scale in core business processes, not around the edges. Finally, they have measurable business impact of these innovations that move the needle. Then the innovation adoption cycle repeats. Having the incentive for employees to lean in to the latest technology and move from pilots to scale is what makes digital leaders stand out, whether that is Tencent in China or Google in the US. It is very important to maintain that constant innovation cycle if the goal is to have more impact from digital transformation in the business. So how can we encourage grassroots digital innovation and adoption? How do we encourage adoption in those innovations that we don't have a burning platform anymore, like we had in the last 18 months? Well, these are the big questions around digital that companies and investors are tackling right now. And I thought it was interesting that these topics came up so frequently this week. What happens when we go back to work? And what about all the great, cool digital projects that got started? I hope you are crafting these plans and strategies for your business, and hopefully you will have some great answers to it. I would love to hear about them. Talk soon.